In this daily drop, I'm going to talk about this interview setup I have here on location for the next few days. So let's go. All right, everybody, on location, refrigerator is running right now, just so you know. So if you hear that in the background and it's being picked up a little bit later on before we start with our interviews, that will get turned off or unplugged. These keys will go in there, and I'll remember to plug the fridge in before I leave. Now, this is a pretty typical type of location that we would get for a documentary or a corporate interview shoot. This was previously a staff members or staff families residence, and they have just recently moved out of here to a new location. So it was available to us. This is a project for a school. And what we basically started with was an empty living room space. So this has been dressed. It has been given a little love to give it something. And as you can see, there's throw pillows behind me on that bay window. We've got a couple of chairs here. We've got the living room chairs. And I wouldn't say challenge of this shoot, but the realities of this shoot are that we have to do interviews with singles looking here to our interviewer, camera right, and also we are going to have and already have done a full day of interviews where we have two people in the chair. So what I've done to kind of keep things relatively simple is I have set this up in a way that it pretty much works for both singles and also for two people. There's slight adjustments we'll make to this chair and the positioning of everything when it's a single or it's a two-shot with two people who are together. And this is generally parents of students who are going to the school, and one person is talking, so I'll have a B camera, which you can see here, and that will basically float between the person here and the person who is right here. And in an ideal situation, we would actually have three cameras. So I would have a wide with the two shot. We would have singles on each of the people that are being interviewed if we have two people in the shot. But that's the basic setup here. So you can kind of see this is what a camera looks like. It's a little wider. I can go tighter. We're at a 35 millimeter here. I can go as tight as a 50. And then I actually have a fixed lens over here, which is an 85. And that's our tighter shot. And like I said, I'm floating between two people. Not ideal, but it's what we're doing for these interviews. And for the next few days, everything that we're doing is looking camera right. There are some other interviews that have to be done in this space, most likely in about 3 weeks. And what we'll probably do is just flip everything, and then we'll have everybody looking camera left. So that's the basic setup. In terms of how the space is set up, we basically have the key source. And I had the idea when I came in here and scouted that I thought I'd want a bounce light. I thought it would work out well based on the color of the walls and the way the space was. So what I have over here on the rolling stand is I have the Nanlite PavoSlim, the 240C. So this is a 2x2 panel. It's got quite a lot of punch, actually, and I've put the magic cloth in front of it just to soften it up a little bit. But if I need more exposure, I can take that magic cloth off. It's not going to bother talent because of the angle that it's at, but I can get a little bit more lift in the room. Now, why would I want to do that? Well, part of the reason I'd want to do that is because of what's behind me, because the sun is going to be hitting these blinds all day long. We opted for a different look where decided not to look out into the valley. Even though it's beautiful, there's a lot of other things that have to get done when you're doing that. And as a result, I have to expose for the background. So it's going to have a little bit purposely a little bit of a blown out look and feel, but we still wanted to make sure we slowed down how much light was coming in. So outside we have an 8x8 silk, which is just living in front of that big window. And then in terms of camera settings, I have the camera set to ISO 400. Now, that's counterintuitive to a slight amount, or to a slight degree, because obviously if I was at around 800, I'd be getting the most dynamic range above middle gray, holding those highlights a little bit better. But I decided to expose for that at 400 and then just bring my light levels up inside of the room. That's not really hitting that background that much, and so you get the basic idea. Everything else is pretty much the same in terms of setup. We've got an FX30 over here with the 18-50 Sigma. I've got the 85 bodice lens on the B camera, which is the A7C2. And then these little SmallRig little flags that come right off of the cold shoe, which are actually pretty handy, because when you're getting a little bit of flare that's coming in from a light source that might be like over there, then I can actually block that. And what I have over there is the little Nanlite 60C, which is a great little RGB ACL light. And then I have their 36-degree projector on there, which I find to be the most precise. It has enough width here. I'm just looking at the way the light is, to hit the shoulders and just have a little bit of wrap on both people if we're doing that. And you can really cut that and then soften that up the way you need to. Other than that, you can kind of see what we're doing with the space. I've got this big white-black sound blanket that is on a piece of Scrim Jim Cine that I can move around and I can use as fill or neg. Another blanket behind here just to help a little bit and move that around with the fact that this is a pretty live room. It's a lot better now with the blankets and a rug down here and with some furniture in the room. That has improved it markedly. And then audio-wise, we'll talk a little bit about this in a different episode. I'm also going to talk a little bit about how we're dealing with that background in another episode as well. So 2 more from here. Don't forget to, and I'll see you on the next episode of The Daily Drop.